All right, welcome to On the Table Gaming's live hangout with CMON game designer Michael Shinall. We've got something a little bit unusual tonight, and I guess there's probably a little bit of story I should give as a background before we start up. So we're going to be fielding questions. If you've got questions for him, we'll take them in the chat, and we're streaming simultaneously on Facebook and YouTube. So feel free to drop your questions in, and we'll try to respond as best we can. But I got a little bit of story, and I want to tell this before I pull Michael on here because I want to get my version out. But Michael sent a picture to me a while ago, and it was of a beautiful oil painting. And he told me that he painted it himself. And then at our last time we talked, I was with Simon from the Facebook group, and he was saying, Chase, how do you know that this is actually something he painted? And how do you know he's just not trolling you with pre-purchased art that he's showing off? And so, naively, I brought this up to Michael Shinall, and he has decided he's going to prove me wrong and show us that he's got some painting skills here as a part of this live stream. So, Michael, thanks so much. Come on up, and I'll pull up the screen here. And thanks so much for coming on the stream. So here's our beautiful canvas you've got there. And so if you guys have questions for Michael as we're going along, we can take those in, and we'll go from there.
Oh no, Chase! I was just going to show you the canvas, and now I'm going to go do whatever I was.
That's it. Oh no!
That was my master actual troll thing.
That's
here.
Good. There could have been a worse thing on that picture, I guess.
So let me regale you with the actual events of how this came to be.
Oh no!
Because I remember them a little differently.
Okay.
I remember showing you a painting that was hanging in the background, and you were asking about it, and I said, "Oh yeah, I did that one," and you apparently didn't believe me. And the thing is, it's not that good. It really isn't. Like, this is a very basic hobby here, but you kept egging me on about it. And the thing is, and this is my number one, well, not number one, but this is a very good, important life lesson. Success is 90% spite. And so when you question me and you question my integrity, Chase, about this, I had to set this up. Plus, I figured it'd be fun, and frankly, Bob Ross doesn't get enough credit. So, that's what we're doing here. And plus, it gives me an excuse to not be directly on camera here and just have a focus here. So, that makes me feel better as well.
And then does Michael has Lady's Pelt? Yes, it's not a live stream unless there's a Song of Ice and Fire reference to Rip Lady. So, yes.
So what we're going to draw today is called Dire Wolves of the Past. No, we're not. This is not a Song of Ice and Fire related here in the slightest at all, because again, I can do landscapes, and that's where my ability is. Because I just learned how to do this from watching Bob Ross tutorials, so I can't do anything super fancy, and I refuse to draw people. So
before we get into doing any Q&A questions and stuff while you're painting here, how did you get into this as a hobby just in general? You're just like, miniatures aren't good enough. You're like, miniatures are too small. I crave something bigger.
Oh, you mean like the oil painting?
Yeah.
So this was every year on New Year's. I always pick at least one new hobby or something to at least try out. 2 years ago it was bike riding. Last year it was oil painting, and that was honestly, I fell into just trying that because we were getting to like nearly February and I hadn't found a new hobby to do. So I was like, if I don't pick something, my hobby is going to be figuring out what hobby to do. And this was on a whim. I saw someone locally posted on one of those like wine and like paint classes like that's been popping up at a lot of places. This was back, kids, by the way, in the pre-COVID days of the long ago, the before times,
before the long night,
when you could socialize. So I decided to try that out, and I liked it, and I said, you know what, just try it. It's something creative. It's and it's something to do. So I picked it up doing that, and that's how that wound up.
You're on Greyjoy in the chat saying next time try origami. I feel like that could be a terrifying thing.
So origami is something I picked up in my younger days, about 15 years or so ago, and I actually I've already done that. Like, I was never able to make a spider, which was the disappointing thing to me, but I can make a crane that is smaller than a dime.
What? Okay. Well, guys, next time tune in for a live stream origami with maybe some questions about games and A Song of Ice and Fire as well.
Well, funny enough, it was actually like one of my first jobs that I had was working in a shop, and there was a lot of downtime, but there was also limited the stuff we could do. So that's actually how I picked up the origami, is because it's something I could do, pick up and sit down when we had customers coming in and out, and it was non-offensive or whatever. So.
Oh, we got a chat and asking a question. Are you going to paint a happy wolf? What are the odds of some happy painting we're going to get?
Oh, absolutely zero. So here's the thing. I paint landscapes. That's all I can do. I can't do animals, and I refuse to do people. And I've actually talked about this before. I can only paint kind of somber scenes. I've tried painting bright and colorful things. They never come out right, and I end up just giving up halfway through. So I don't know what that says about my subconscious or whatever, but there you go. So to start this off here, just to give you, this is a black canvas, and we've prepared this by just painting over it with Prussian blue and Van Dyke brown, two colors here, and just give it a nice little coating of that. So those are translucent colors, so when we actually start painting on this, we'll start picking those colors up as we're going. But otherwise, this is just a black canvas picked up from any local craft store. I'm not going to give this a tutorial because you can actually just go and watch a Bob Ross one on YouTube. That's way better. But I figure I'll at least somewhat explain as we're going through here, to at least keep that somewhat relevant, I guess, because this is in no way in any shape or form related to anything we're doing or talking about. And it goes. And the other rule here, Chase, is that you have until I'm done with this painting to keep asking questions. So this live stream is directly proportional to that.
Hopefully the chat will help me out here. But man, do you realize the high level that the bar, how high the bars you set for any other future chats with other game designers? I'll be like, Michael Shinall came on here. He painted. What kind of talents do you got?
Go big or go home. It's like, well, we can dance on stream or hula hoop or something. Who knows?
So I'm
not going to do any of that.
We had some A Song of Ice and Fire questions. Maybe we'll start in with those. I know a lot of people coming in from the A Song of Ice and Fire community, where, of course, people know you for being the game designer and making the awesome game that we all love. We had a question from, actually, I think it's you're on Greyjoy in the chat here. I see him. He was asking, do you feel a huge relief or a sense of achievement having announced the long-awaited dragons? Having those out there, spoiled, people know about them. We've seen a stat card for Drogon. Did that feel great? Was it a sense of accomplishment? Do you feel like there's gosh, you don't have to hear people asking over and over again, where are my dragons? What was that like?
Well, so here's the thing. While I would like to say that yes, releasing the dragons is going to remove that question of like, oh, when are we getting dragons? All that really does is move people on to the next series of questions, which is like, when are Greyjoys coming out? When is Hot Pie coming out? When is this obscure little thing that I love coming out? It removes one thing from the whole palette, but it doesn't actually like remove anything big. So that's one of those things. Like, yes, are people going to keep asking like, hey, when am I getting dragons? Yes. But now they're going to ask, when am I going to get full-grown dragons? When am I going to get, like, Daenerys riding a Drogon? When am I going to get Balerion the Black Dread that's, as big as my gaming table? It's like, one question is just replaced by another one. So what we're going to do starting here is we're just going to paint a nice little night sky here. And all of this is a very simple painting. It's only going to be using 3 colors, but this is just titanium white. And we're just going to start doing some little X shapes here to draw a bit of a moon in the background. So next question there, Chase.
And I do see you guys in the chat. I can't tell if you're trolling us now, asking about when all these other things are coming out, the points values, the Night's Watch Hero Box too. Also, Dakota, I see you. We lost about 6 or 7 minutes of our last time we got to talk to Michael when I asked him about Kit Harington. So we're going to try and avoid that topic for now.
Now, Chase, we were having a nice,
a
nice little chat here, and then you're going to go and bring up Mr. KT, who I've said before was not a conversation we're going to have.
I was saying it was off limits, guys. We can't.
So my calm seems to have just
we're gonna mess up your painting here with these messages.
It is what it is. So.
So we had some questions.
So as you can see here, we're already picking up that blue and brown that was in the background here, and that's just getting picked up by this white that we have, and it's definitely not in any way related to Kit Harington. So that's good.
A few more ones about A Song of Ice and Fire here. This one came in beforehand as well. They're asking, with things like the new tactic zone or the from Pirate Pre or the upcoming large solo tray that is melee units, is the version of the game that you're playing and the playtesters are playing, is that dramatically different than the game that's out in the wild right now? Or is it kind of more just like there's some subtle layers of things coming out?
There's subtle layers. Is the game drastically different? No. There's, of course, more things involved and some things like there, but drastically different? No. There are more elements in each of the armies, obviously, which
right.
just open up some more options. Because here's the thing that people need to, they understand as well is like we develop things very far in advance, but as far as the release timetable goes, that's a whole separate beast. Because even though things were done and ready, things still have to be done to a release schedule. You can't just drop everything out at once. At least, well, you can, but it's not a good idea. That's actually one of the reasons we moved to quarterly releases to handle things in the game versus the old monthly system, was that now we can release a faction or we can release blocks of units in one go that will modify things as they come. Versus just like, oh, this month this one new unit is coming out and it's going to change things. Now it's basically functioned much more around quarters, so it's like these factions are getting this faction's getting this, a whole new faction's coming out with new options. Like Greyjoys are going to be releasing with a hero box with additional units. It's not going to be a couple months of just picking the starter box up and then waiting for the army to expand out. It's one of the reasons we did, that method.
Oh, we got a question here from Cole. It says, big fan. If you could redesign the game from the ground up, is there anything you would change? Huge fan of the game.
No, so there's no core mechanics that I would really want to revamp or change or anything. Are there little minor things? Sure, but those are things that like aren't really worth touching in updates, or they're personal things that I will fully admit that I personally feel about, but I don't think the greater community or the game really would benefit from that. That's always one of the things to discuss, is that just because you want to do something, you have to look at the overall fan community and whatnot. Because, like, for example, I've talked to you about this before on previous episodes, but, like, things that I thought were going to be a big concern for the meta and the way the game played when we were designing this turned out to be non-issues. No one even cared about them. And then some things that you think, like, wait, really? People are going to latch onto this? That, that's the things that people, go on to. Okay, so what we're going to do here, now we've just kind of thrown some white up there, we're just going to take our large number 2 brush here, and we're just going to kind of basically sweep all this out right here, and that's just going to kind of blend everything together. Now, this is a wet-on-wet canvas method here, so we have all the oil paints right here. We're not working like acrylic. These are all going to maintain wet for days on end, so we can blend them very easily. This is also a bit tricky for me, Chase, since I'm doing this standing up at an angle, so I might be moving the canvas around here a bit.
No worries, that's fine.
But so that was a good question. So we can move on to next one. Look it up.
Whoops. How do I get back to my... There we go. Let's see what we got
here. And we lost it. No more questions ever. Just gone.
How hard is it to pick what heroes are included in the boxes? I'm assuming the hero boxes, given the great amount of characters in the books. How did you figure out like how to bundle those? Was that difficult?
So I like to do them as a mixture of... So when we design factions, new factions, we usually design them out to have about the first... between 10 to 15 boxes, including hero boxes and releases there. So, that's not a number that, that's not a hard number, but that's what we're looking at. Like, we don't just design a starter box and go like, well, hope this works out. We look at, the overall faction as a whole, because you have to look at that. Otherwise, you start making things piecemeal that doesn't really work. So when we do that, hero boxes are included in there. And of course you want to have your big fan favorites that people have, but you also want to include the ones like, because the TV show made people have their certain fan favorites, but this is based on the books. And there's a lot more interesting characters in the books than the TV show, because characters got combined, characters got removed. And so, that's a choice there. But when we're doing the hero boxes, it's always this nice little mixture of like, pick the ones everyone's expecting, and then also pick some obscure ones, and then also pick the cool ones. Like, people saw that with the Baratheons.
Shira Errol. Who's more obscure, Shira Errol or Roderick the Reader? I don't know. Those are both pretty...
Roderick actually played a pretty important role because he was Asha's basically protege and, not Castellan, but like one of her like mentor figures. Meanwhile, Shira Errol is so forgotten that she was later in the later books replaced by a male character being in charge of Haystack Hall and just never referenced again.
Aww.
So I'm not going to say that George forgot about her, but it feels that way.
Oh, sadness.
Chase, I don't know if you can hear this little bit of a noise over here. I have a cleaning bucket off to the side here, so if you hear any like clashing noises like this, that is literally just beating the devil, as Bob Ross used to say, out of the brushes. So that's just me cleaning.
Fair enough. I had a question earlier. How do you come up with the names for abilities in the game? I mean, I'm just off the top of my head, I'm thinking Sundering. Well, that kind of makes sense. But how did you guys generate those, outflank, bushwhack, those sorts of things?
Those names are determined by what sounds cool, and then also if it is accurate to, like what is going on. And basically, you should be able to read an ability name, and it should tell you. You should get an idea about like what it does. So that's an important aspect there. Like Sundering, you get what that does. Fueled by Slaughter, you get an idea of how that sounds. So that type of thing there. It's it's one of those mental visual things. Also a hefty dose of like thesaurus.com, because like
Fair enough.
Okay, this is going to be a very vicious, visceral attack. Okay, well, we use vicious to define that. Okay, well, what about ferocious? It's too close to vicious. Okay, what about like, okay, well, let's see what thesaurus.com has to say about this now.
Fair enough.
So,
Now, we're getting a lot of comments in here from Euron Greyjoy, and I know Euron is a content creator, and he's got a YouTube channel called War Room. He does battle reports, getting somewhat new, getting up there. Amazing battle reports. If you guys haven't checked them out, please do. And he's asking anything you'd like to see in battle reports or community content. When you do get a chance to catch some community videos or streams, is there anything that you like to see?
I have not really, back in my day, when you used to do a battle report, there was a lot more just like punishment for failing. And now these games these days, it really feels like they're all just, we're all having a good time and playing and having fun because we're all friends. And there's just never any like, if you lose, the consequences will be dire for you and your family.
Oh no!
You just never see things like that anymore, and it's just
so.
It's kind
so
of
you want harsher punishments and less friendship? Okay.
You can still be friends. It's not like personal. It happens.
Here's an interesting one. I know you guys have met with George R. R. Martin to talk about sculpts and things like that. Have you ever personally got to play a game with him? Or do you have any ideas about what he thinks of the game?
So funny enough, we were actually planning something before COVID happened. I'm not going to get too much into it because this is something we might be still doing in the future once the world settles out. But there were some ideas going around. So that's all I can really say on that.
Is this going to be something that you will record, and are there going to be consequences? Like if you win, the book gets delayed, and he's not going to put it out. But if he wins, he publishes it, or
oh geez, if we had that type of power.
Too soon maybe. There are some questions here, and I don't know if you can address this. So let me just know, but it's talk about those foil cards that were announced at CMON Expo Asia, and the rumor was that those are going to be having updated cards in them with the updated rules.
There really wasn't any rumor about that. That was like the second sentence I said
Perfect.
when we revealed them. They are the cards are updated in V1.5 or previous. Those are updated in there.
So does that kind of signal a move that going forward that CMON is willing to do, or is that a kind of a one-shot special thing?
Well, so this was a one-shot thing done for the Asia Expo because they had the resources to do that for that. But that's not saying that anything like that is out of the question. Like we said before, it's something we want to do. It's just a matter of working out the logistics for it. And that's something I can't really talk a lot about because not my department specifically.
Gotcha.
So now we're going to do the very classic method here of I've taken white paint on my finger and we're just going to draw a little moon right here. See? Look at that.
This is like strangely therapeutic.
Well, there's a reason why like people do that ASMR stuff with Bob Ross. I hate ASMR stuff and the idea of that, but
community, have you noted that? Make a note. we got one firm check for things that Michael Shinall does not like. The next battle report.
I don't like needless
whispering. They're taking a tactic, so.
Jeez.
Oh no.
I'm gonna play assault orders here. I think you've lost the game.
I feel like there's a niche there that isn't being met by the community with some ASMR.
Okay, well there you go for battle reports. You have
Can you imagine
ASMR battle reports.
The title? It's going to be ASMR, ASOIF, TMG, just all acronyms. Shame. You should be painting minis. Alex Carson. Actually, Michael Shinall does paint minis, and I don't know if you've got them there because you are currently.
I would love to, but I'm currently sequestered in Canada, so all my painting supplies are way back in the U.S.
You've got you've shown off before in the past some of your neutrals, especially those were amazing. So some general questions here as well about game design. So you worked on a variety of different games and IPs. How does CMON games, how do you go about like getting an IP?
So that we actually covered a lot of that in our marketing, and sorry, or when we were talking to Jeff Skinner, our vice president of marketing. We had a whole panel of that in Asia. But when it comes down to like the IPs, they sometimes we're approached by different companies, sometimes we approach them. It just depends. All right, so now that we've done this kind of basic little sky right here, by the way, we're now going to get out our fan brush here, and we're going to start painting some happy little clouds. Everyone's favorite thing.
Oh, and Jonathan Vamos, yeah, he wasn't saying that Canada doesn't have painting supplies for miniatures. I think he was implying that his stuff is not with him.
Oh, yes, all my miniatures and everything are back in the U.S. because I wasn't planning on staying here for the last 8 months. I was planning a month trip up here, and then the border got shut down. I was literally on the last flight out of the country when the president came on and said, "Oh, the border's getting shut down." I didn't even know at the time if I was going to be allowed into Canada or get sent back. But once I was here, then I'm here. So this is where I've been.
We got one from Alex here. What other IP would you most want to adapt into a game, war or a classic board game? I can make a pitch for one if you're want for ideas, because there is a game that I feel like its time has come for an IP that's been neglected for a long time that I really want to somehow convince you and CMON to go for.
And what would be that?
Well, guys, are people familiar with Dino Riders? Possibly the greatest IP ever, which is like you have your dinosaurs with laser beams and stuff.
See,
anybody in the comments remember that?
I was a little excited because I thought you were going to talk about Dino Saucers, but
Dino Saucers.
Rider. Yeah, you went the Dino Riders approach.
Or what is it? And then there's all those other lesser Dino spin-offs like Dino the Last Dinosaur.
That was part of the Dinosaur Power Hour on UPN. Was Denver the Last Dinosaur?
Oh, Denver, that's what it was. Denver.
Followed by Dino Saucers.
Gotcha. So Denver the Last Dinosaur, that was always kind of a confusing one because it's got a really catchy song. What was it? Denver the Last Dinosaur. Yeah. He's my friend and a whole lot more. And I was just always like, what? I'm not sure what's going on here.
It's like, wait, what are we suggesting here?
Oh, man. Any other games? Oh, is there a game? All right. Well, this one, we'll take this in the most charitable way. We'll be careful how we answer this one. We're not surprised, but is there a game Michael has worked on that he was surprised about how successful it was? I'm assuming you kind of, assume a certain base level of success with things, but was there anything that you were like, it really took off like wildfire and you were surprised?
Oh, to be honest, most games I work on, I just assume that, it's just like, this is going to crash and burn. Because, that way you're setting yourself up. If it's a success, then it's like, oh, surprising. And then if it's not, then you just, it's like, oh, okay, well, whatever, I saw it coming. We take the droopy approach where it's just like everything's sad and bad.
We've got one also from Brian Sherry. This is a great comment here. Michael, I'm psyched for HeMan, as am I, because that was a big part of my childhood. Can you tell us anything about the gameplay or the game? And also, Brian, you remember Dino Riders, so bonus points for you.
So yeah, I can actually talk a little bit about HeMan here, which might get me in a little bit of trouble, but you know what? That's fine. Live a life on the edge.
You have the power, as the quote goes, I believe.
Yep. So yeah, that is again the whole point of that game. That is, whenever we're making games, it's all about like, what is the feeling we are trying to accomplish with this game? Like, what is the experience that we are trying to create? And with this looks like a little like evil hand coming out over here. What is the experience? And HeMan is all about like power and making sure you feel heroic and just that type of effect. And so that's really what we want to go with HeMan. So the whole thing is about just feeling powerful. Like, yes, everything here is awesome. Everything here is amazing. And that's one of the big dynamics is, making sure that you feel just powerful. And part of that is, well, actually, that's one of the systems in the game. It's called the power system. But the whole thing about that is that like it's very character focused. The whole thing about it is that we're basically taking like all of the cult classics here. You can have all your favorite characters, from the toy line, and this is based on the classic series. So not like the movie or the new reboot that's coming out or anything that might be on any other newer mediums. This is specifically the toy line and the classics line of the 1983 cartoon series. So we get the coolness that is the 80s like cartoon series and everything. there, and also the silliness that goes along with that. Like, for instance, technically He-Man is so powerful. Like, He-Man has fought Superman in the past. That's how powerful he actually is. And we're talking 80s, where your superpowers were basically, what did I have to do at the time in order to win? So, it gets fun. We'll just say it like that.
And then we have some speculation on what you're painting here. I think Michael's slowly spoiling a Night King faction with his painting. That would be epic.
Please,
but
by all means, just keep reading.
We're reading into
it.
It's a Rorschach
That's exactly
test,
that's exactly what I recommend people doing, is just over reading into things.
We've got one in the comments here. What are some of the challenges in designing factions, specifically the neutrals? Was it a little bit more challenging designing the neutral faction than other factions in A Song of Ice and Fire: The Miniatures game?
Neutrals are always a fun thing to do, because like anyone can take them, and the thing is, like, everyone is always like, oh, this could be neutral. It's like, you're right, technically everything in existence could be neutral, because given this setting in this world, everything is always like up for themselves. But you have factions for a reason here, for gameplay reasons, for balances. There's a reason you're not just picking whatever you want out of everything. But neutrals are always one of those like fun things to do with how they function. And the thing is, in the Song of Ice and Fire, the setting is kind of just like neutrals tend to be really bad guys, because they're just out there for money. So they're always some of the more fun ones to create, because you're dealing with people that are not necessarily noble like Starks or Baratheons to a lesser extent and whatnot. These are usually just sellswords and things. So what we're going to do now is we're drawing a couple clouds right here. We're going to start highlighting them, and we want to look at where the moon is coming out. So we're going to start highlighting them from that area. So like the ones below it here, they're going to get highlights on the top, and the ones above it are going to get ones on the bottom. We're just going to take another fan brush here. I've got a lot working here, and we're just going to go just kind of right around the top right here. Don't worry, nothing really wrong can go here. And if anything just comes out looking a little strange, that's fine, as Bob Ross said, just a happy little accident. There's no mistakes here. So, and that's basically what it comes to like designing units. There's never any mistakes, just happy little accidents. Things function the way they do.
A little bit of wisdom maybe from Michael Shinall here, and maybe adding to that, Mike V's asking, what makes a man turn neutral? Power, gold, or was he just born with a heart full of neutrality? Any
Chase,
wisdom or insight?
Give that man some virtual money or whatever.
There we go.
Whatever his Twitch does.
Well, that's coming across great, though, man. All right, I've got some silly questions people send me here. If you were to be trapped on a desert island with one other person
we're getting into these type of questions?
Exactly. Okay. I get some silly ones. You're trapped on an island with one other person from the CMON design or development team. Who would it be and why?
So I'm not going to actually say a specific name on that one, but I will say that I actually do evaluate all my coworkers on a constant basis based on threats during a potential apocalypse or food sources in case of emergencies. So in this situation right here, it would be the person who is at the top of my list as a viable food source for the longest period of time.
Oh no! It's like you've got like Batman. You've got a contingency backup plan for every one of your employees you work with.
Essentially, yes, Chase. If you want to be very blunt, and there is an eating order, so that's another thing.
Oh, we got one here from Andrew Old. So here's a question. It's a long one here. Flames of War has early war, middle, and late war periods with different builds for each. Do you think A Song of Ice and Fire could ever do this, having like different maybe stats or rules for different periods of the books? You can have Jon Snow, and then Jon Snow with the free folk, and have maybe different rules or allegiances.
Well, we actually already have that. Characters at different periods in time, such as like Barristan Selmy in the Kingsguard, or Barristan Selmy in the Queensguard for Daenerys. Well, I guess it's advisor to the dragon, although he's technically the first of the Queensguard. She just hasn't technically made a full Queensguard yet. But like we already have that. But if you're talking about different eras and whatnot, again, our starting point for the game we picked is the death of King Robert. That's where we're at. Can we do other things? Sure, but this is our focus right now. So, while there's never any limit, there is the scope of what we're currently dealing with.
Michael, are you aware of the person who goes by the name of the Batman? Is an individual in the A Song of Ice and Fire.
Are you asking me if I know who Batman is?
There's an individual in the A Song of Ice and Fire community who shows up everywhere, like Batman, and he has one singular question that he always asks, and it's about whether or not we're going to get a giant NCU character. And so in this form,
right, and I remember I had answered that before because I said that yes, his name is Hope Crusher, the unattainable.
That's how we, that's just becomes a staple of every. It's like the free bird of A Song of Ice and Fire right now. Oh, we've got one from Chris Baird. The box art for A Song of Ice and Fire is always great. Have you had a favorite so far?
Baratheon Sentinels or Baratheon Wardens?
Yeah, those are great. Man, I'm trying to think of mine. I think one of the ones that stood out to me. I mean, obviously, free folk stuff, yes, of course. But the Blackguards, the neutral box set there with like the shields and there's like fire explosions going on. That one really stood out to me as well. For people listening to chat, what were some of the box arts that you guys liked the most? While we do that, I'll zoom in on the. Look at that beautiful art there.
Yeah, I'm actually not like looking at the stream picture there, so I can't actually see what you're showing or anything.
No worries. I'm zooming in on your portrait there. Oh man, now you guys are sending me silly questions now.
See, you ask one, Chase.
All right, just guys, send me if you're messaging. Do it on the Facebook or YouTube chat. Don't Discord me, please. Wardens, a lot of people. Wardens is box as the peak box art, definitely. The Roller Faithful, yeah, a lot of the new Baratheon stuff is phenomenal. That stuff is looking. Lannister Guard is the classic war game art. Yeah, I think a lot of the original stuff.
So now, Chase, what we're going to do here, I'm going to take a moment for you. We've got our knife, our palette knife, and we're going to make some mountains. So anyway, next question.
People talking about the Night's Watch having some pretty sweet art. Chris Baccello is the artist, I think, maybe. Here's a... so I don't know if people in the stream are aware of Hannibal. Can you tell us about this interesting pet, or not pet, I guess, but companion, familiar? What would be the term?
I don't even know if I would say pet or anything. So one of the things that happened here was that like we had set some food out on the balcony and we're near the water. So one day we had a random seagull that just came and landed up here and then started coming more and more. So I guess I've got a seagull like now. Favorite food would be well, found out its favorite food is actually oatmeal, but before that it was chicken hearts. And then it doesn't it refuses to eat any type of greens. It only eats oatmeal and meat. So
yeah, you're raising like an army of aggressive, hungry.
Oh no,
seagulls.
just the one. It's like she
Just
chases off.
She'll lead the rest.
Chases off any others that actually try to come and land in anything.
Was there anything? Was there anything that you were really excited to share at CMON Expo Asia? You kept making jokes, and knowing you enough, I don't know if I would say you actually joke, but you keep saying things that are ominous. You never make jokes, but you kept saying, "Oh, gee, that's too bad." Fabio said this thing, and it I guess we won't have time to get to other things. Is that something you just like tease about, or do you legitimately?
We had a very strict timetable, so if we didn't reach things, we didn't get to show them. So
there was stuff that didn't get shown. Oh my gosh!
Oh, I'm not going to answer that. That's part of the game. Like, we might have shown everything. We might not have.
Oh man. What's it like going through with an IP? Like, what's the process that you go through to prepare for an IP? So obviously you've got the HeMan Master of the Universe stuff that you're working on, but you also worked and designed Bloodborne, which is another great CMON game. How do you prepare for designing a game like that? How do you make yourself familiar with all that content?
Man, it is a lot of background checks. So before like even working on the game or everything, we usually get an idea of what this game is going to be and some general themes, but it has to be respectful to the setting. So it usually begins a huge amount of just like background process about checking in and learning what this game, what is the setting if I'm not familiar with it, and what makes it cool. Like it was A Song of Ice and Fire. I was familiar with the TV series. I had read the books like a long time ago, and I hadn't finished the latest ones, but then we got this IP, and I'm going to be working on this. So literally the next 6 months turned into just full research mode. So it was reread the books, listen to the audiobooks, watch through the series again, read the cooking book, read the world book, go and read fan theories online, read all this information that you can try to find to, make sure that you are intimately familiar with the setting to do it justice. With Bloodborne, for example, it was playing through the game over and over and over. Now, luckily with Bloodborne, it turns out I actually really like that game. Turns out the Soulsborne series became one of my favorites. But even on some other projects, which we haven't announced yet and I haven't talked about, sometimes you're not necessarily the biggest fan of the source material, and usually you want to have someone on, like, assign a game or something to a staff member who is passionate about the game. But if you're going to be on the project, you still have to do it justice. So I've been on projects before where, honestly, like the setting or anything, I don't particularly care for. But sorry.
So jumping in here quick. I hope you guys are enjoying the stream. If you got questions, we're streaming both on YouTube and Facebook. So drop your questions in there and we'll try to get them answered by Michael as he's paying through. And we're going to cut back to the action.
So like with Bloodborne, I played through that game like innumerable times. Like I actually have lost track of how much time. So I played through that game on 3 systems. My roommate's PlayStation, my PlayStation that I bought. I'll be right back. And then the one that we actually had up here in Canada, I played through it yet again. So, yeah, I played through that game just tons and tons of times. And then with other, like HeMan, for example, that was a whole matter of going through and reading through, watching the original series, getting the World Book, Wikipedia, and all that, reviewing the toy line, going through different series websites to like see reviews of the toys, seeing what people's favorite obscure character was. Turns out there's a huge population of the fandom that likes Ram Man for some reason. I don't know.
Ram Man.
I guess it's the whole like the people that's like Stannis Baratheon and everything. Like I don't understand those people either.
I mean, Ram Man is pretty amazing. He's a
he's
a man
cool,
who's a ram. I mean, what a great name too, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to take that away from him. Like he's got character. Okay.
A lot of those ones have a lot of those He-Man characters too are really interesting. So that'll be I'm actually really excited for the He-Man property you're working on.
I mean, my favorites were always like Beastman and Merman. I really don't know why I like the visual aesthetics of Merman because, you know, I just think he's just derpy enough, but he can still be threatening. And actually, oh man, it wasn't Arachnoid. I forget the names because a lot of them were Blank Man, or like something like Fisto.
One of the weird things is that like at least on the cartoon, the television cartoon, He-Man like didn't often actually like use his sword to fight. He mostly
so that was actually due to the Cartoon Violence Act that took place in the 1980s. Before that is that so you actually couldn't show punches and fighting in children's programming. So this is why, actually, even through the 90s, you would just see characters, they would just pick each other up and throw each other because they couldn't actually hit and they couldn't use violence. This is also a reason why you saw in the 90s you would have cartoons that had a bunch of robot adversaries because you couldn't show physical violence against living things. But like you could against Skeletor's hover robots or against the Foot Clan's the Foot Clan, instead of being, you know, organic, you know, ninjas, they were robots.
Unfortunately, all that's doing is that in the future, when robots do gain sentience, they'll instantly comb through our catalog of entertainment and see how we would treat them, and they'll rise up against us.
Well deserving.
Oh my gosh, the mostly useless hero, Many Faces. I forgot about him.
He was not
amazing.
Many Faces was not useless because he had many faces. Okay.
That's
all right. We're gonna try something here, Chase, that I haven't done in quite a while. We're gonna do some snow effects on these mountains here with a palette knife. And this is something I've messed up in the past, and I haven't done this in a long time, so it's probably not going to come out well. But we'll see.
Can we get you to say winter is coming, or is that a no-go?
I will not
the camera off.
Yeah, it's like, and I'm sorry, Chase, my computer seems to have fallen off the balcony. We're done here. So yeah, I mean, like that's so. That basically ties into the whole He-Man thing. Is like you got to research it, and even though it is silly, because no one is going to deny that like He-Man was a cartoon series was made to sell toys. I mean, that's its sole purpose, but we have to expand it beyond that. And frankly, yes, you're going to have cool characters. You've got Triclops, you have Many Faces, you have Ram Man, you have Merman, you have Beastman, basically any version of Man, and then Fisto. You can't forget Fisto, okay? We can't forget Fisto.
Like Chris Baird saying, "Do you think it was weird that He-Man referred to his best friend as Man-at-Arms? Did he not know his real name?"
That was his real name.
No, I think his real name. I might be wrong here, but wasn't it Duncan? I think it was.
Yeah, it was.
Because I was thinking like when this game comes out, we got to get Duncan Rhodes to paint Man-at-Arms because it's Duncan and Duncan. No,
you just really want to do that to him? Sure.
All right, so we have the snow. All right, here we are on the supplying the snow. It's like a golf
just want
narrator.
The pallet knife to just break across there when we pull it down. So you just barely touch it. Just basically pull and break. And
it's really hard not to just suddenly scream in your ear as you go to
Chase,
I'm just kidding.
I
really want a seagull to show up right now, though.
Well, she showed up just before the stream, but it's not feeding time yet. She will show up in about another hour or so.
Nice.
All right, so Chase, what's your next question?
All right, let's see what we got here, guys. Keep them coming in the chat as well. I'm going to have to go for one from the random bag here. Did you have, as a kid, did you play a lot of board games? Did you have any like favorite childhood IPs, things that you were into?
So when I was younger, I was actually much more into like card games than I was like board games and miniature games. I actually did have a number of board games, but they were mainly a lot of those kind of like Milton Bradley and Mattel games like Mousetrap or things like that. I remember the most technical game I owned, though, which is really cool. I had this for a number of years before I eventually got rid of it, was Tower of the Wizard King.
Ooh.
Which is this huge like game board that had a giant tower that you would basically put miniatures in and crank the tower and they would turn into different miniatures. So you'd have like a warrior that would turn into like a dragon or a skeleton. And it was this big area control game, just one of those like type of board games that was really ahead of its time. Also huge box. But I was always a fan of those games that were kind of like had toys. Like I know I had another one called like Bog Devil or something, where the entire board was this just rotating bog, and like this monster would come out and like the hand would try to grab you, and you're basically trying to circle around. And like Shark Attack is another one that people are familiar with because the shark's just moving across. I always was a fan of those kind of gimmicky games like that.
Any general office rivalries or playtester rivalries when it comes to wargaming? Do you like who's the best? Do you guys have any rivalries with the other players when you go to play games?
I mean, I'm pretty much uncontested in that area, so it's hard being at the top, Chase.
Oh man,
hard being at the top. I'm sorry, than the Shao Kahn of this Mortal Kombat tournament.
Oh, I don't know if you can answer this one. People are asking. It's a lot of excitement about He-Man in the chat. Any time frame for the He-Man stuff to be released? Will it be in a Kickstarter? Yeah, you guys announced it was going to be a Kickstarter already, I think.
We announced it was going to be a Kickstarter. I would just keep track of the CMON Facebook and our media outlets. They'll handle all that.
And of course, guys, you can check all that stuff out on the CMON Facebook and their website, cmon.com, for all that gaming goodness. I see some other questions here. If you guys have some other questions. Ooh, here's one about another game system, but Hero Quest. Enjoy or dislike?
So funny enough, Hero Quest I got at a thrift store back when I was like 10. We had a store nearby our house called American Thrift, and that's where I actually picked up a lot of like obscure kind of board games, and one of them was Hero Quest. And So yeah, I played a lot of games solitaire as well because I grew up in a neighborhood of no one else, and my siblings were 10 years apart from me. So
wow.
And so that's basically I'd play a lot of board games solitaire, and I actually again played a lot of card games when I was growing up because we did have a local game store. So that was my Saturday thing, was you go and you play card games all day, and so whatever was popular at the time, Pokemon, Magic. My best experiences was playing the original Doomtown game. That's still like my favorite memories. I have played the revamp. It's good. It doesn't capture that same feeling for me just because we're talking more an experience rather than an actual game.
Right.
But I played the Harry Potter game when it came out. I played Magi Nation, just going off random ones that I'm remembering the random names of because there were so many. Oh, the WWF card game. That was really cool back when it was a thing. That was a fun game. Raw deal.
Look at that. We're zooming in on your painting here. The snow's coming along well.
Not really. It's getting a little messy here. Like I said, I'm a little disappointed there, but that's fine. We can always touch that up and fix it.
Why was the Why was the pointless elf in Hero Quest? How dare you, sir? Whoever said that, how dare you?
What was the what?
They're saying why was the elf in Hero Quest, that the elf was pointless.
Well, that was his own class. Like you had warrior, you had thief, you had elf.
A favorite game among my gaming group is Rising Sun. Is there a particular mechanic in that game that you're proud of?
Well, I didn't do anything with Rising Sun, so I don't really know how I can be too much proud of it. That was all Eric Lang.
JK, my bad. All right, keep those questions coming. If we're going back to the generic pool here, if money was
doing,
no object,
sorry, here, Chase.
Go ahead.
We're just kind of blending this in a bit to create some like little mist effects, and so that's what we're doing is to create like kind of the base of this little mountain right here. Just creating some little mist, pulling this down. Okay.
Looks amazing. Generic one while we're waiting for some more chat questions to populate. If money was no object, what would you be doing right now? Would you be...
I'd be on a stream
painting with
Chase.
Wow,
I'm a very simple I'm a man of very simple pleasures here, okay? Like I don't
You said you'd be like, but I also hired like a hit team to come and break through the windows in the background for me or something.
You can already scare people like that. I mean, honestly, like hiring hit people and everything is not that expensive.
Oh geez. All right. When you know the government comes to talk to us now, I'm gonna be like, more questions about a lot of people talking about the wallpaper, the box art. Any chance they could have wallpaper of the box arts made available on the CMON site? That'd be kind of cool.
It's definitely something we can talk to marketing about and see what we can do.
I mean, some of that stuff is just so gorgeous, and the sculpts are just amazing as well. In fact, I wonder if I can see if I can pop over here. I'm going to add a quick side video, guys, here of some stuff. If you guys haven't seen...
All right, Chase, what we're going to do here now is we're just going to make some little... We're going to make some little bushes here at the baseline of this mountain here, and they're going to turn into some nice little trees off in the distance. So that's what we're going to do. We just have a standard brush right here, and we're just going to start dabbing across right here.
All Michael, are those happy little trees you're painting?
They're not. They actually have some severe bouts of like anxiety and issues.
Oh, anxiety trees. Okay.
And you're not going to really be able to see them too much right now because this is fairly dark on this background here, but they are there. They are there.
They're always
you just gotta
watching.
believe. You just gotta believe. They see everything out in this woods, but they perpetually can't ever do anything about it. Forced to always be endless observers, never being able to interfere.
Speaking about the box art and the beautiful miniatures, I'm just going to throw up here a quick picture of some miniatures by Mike Meeple. He painted up some of his Roller Faithful, and you guys just see the beautiful stuff people can do with these sorts of miniatures. I mean, the miniatures of this game, I feel like they're just constantly getting better and better, the sculpts. And
I
just
really
to
like
make
the Roller Faithful because of the flaming effects on those. So
yeah, and just to make sure we get it right, it's Big Child Creative are the people behind the sculpts?
That's correct.
Man.
So Big Child Creative is the ones that do all the sculpting, and they actually do most of the unit art as well, so the non-box art.
Absolutely. Any other questions, guys, coming in? Or otherwise, I got to go to the crazy pile of questions that we have. How did you get into game design? Like, how did you go from not being a game designer at CMON Games to being one?
So that's kind of a thing that I know a lot of people, you know, they go like, oh, you know, this is, you know, I've always wanted to do this. I've always had aspirations to be a game designer. And mine is not so grandiose as that. I kind of fell into this. So Cool Mini or Not at the time, they're based in Atlanta, Georgia, same place I am. And so they were actually making a big push in their local area, for their game Dark Age back in 2011. So yeah, almost 10 years ago. And so they started having tournaments in the local area, and I started playing in those, winning those. And the thing is, the owner of Cool Mini or Not was attending these tournaments. And so I had also in the past, I had written some articles for different gaming websites, Bell of Lost Souls, Piazzo Publishing. Actually had a short-lived gaming magazine called Undefeated. I wrote for them for a little while, just very like casual, just like tactics articles and things like that. And so I started going with Cool Mini or Not, doing tactics articles for doing for Dark Age. and that led into me doing like some technical rules writing for them, battle reports and things, and that's kind of like got me into the other aspects of doing that. And this was just around when Cool Mini was taking off. Like the first Zombie Side Kickstarter had just become a thing, and I was just basically right place, right time. But before this, I was actually in training with the local police. I was actually had just gotten a job as a communications officer, 911 communications and dispatch. And then what happened is, almost immediately after we all got, like, the training and background process to that takes a year and a half. We were already done. We were certified and everything, and then they laid us all off. Literally
Oh,
80% of our staff, our new recruits, all got laid off due to budget cuts. Um, and so I found myself without a job, and Cool Mini or Not was like, oh, well, we can bring you on like full time as a game developer. And so that's how that started there. One thing led to another, and then nearly 10 years later, here we are. So it wasn't like something I set out to do. I kind of just fell into it because of other hobbies that I was doing, and then it came along. So
is this a kind of one of those careers where when you meet other people and they're like, oh, like, what do you do? Where it's like maybe a little more difficult to explain. Like, how do you explain that you make, world famous board games?
easy. I don't. So I don't really like talking about that too much as it is. Um, But in general, though, because the thing is, whenever someone like, oh, what do you do? I go like, okay, well, I make games. And they're like, oh, you mean like computer games and everything? I'm like, no, not really,
Uh,
like board games. Oh, you mean like Monopoly? Like,
they're
yeah,
like, yes,
yeah,
like
just
Monopoly. In
yes, like
fact, with the
Monopoly.
monocle on, I'm Mr. Monopoly.
Yes, exactly. But frankly, nowadays, it's way easier that when I meet people, I literally just go like, oh, hey, what do you do? Like, I sell fish out of the back of a truck. I like giving that as an answer because it stops any line of questioning just almost immediately because, no one's going to keep asking. Or they're going to keep asking, and now I've found myself in a bit of a problem because, they're actually interested in it. It's like, oh, cool, what type of truck? What type of fish? I'm like, a big truck and lots of fish. So now here what we've done, we created some little bushes here along this little waterfront edge. We're just going to take our brush right here, and we're just going to put down on the edge right here, and we're actually going to create some reflections right in the water. And this is a little cheat right here, so we're just going to grab and just pull it down. Just pull it straight down. Just boop, down. And you see, we're just creating an edge of this water right here. All right, Chase, what's your next question here?
Shane Hardy. Hi, Shane. Do you have a most memorable moment playing A Song of Ice and Fire? For example, I once had Joffrey and Stannis trading blows for the win. Any like
Hmm.
epic sort of fan moments while you're playing? I know you've probably played a lot of games by this point, but
Trying to think of a specific one, and I really can't anytime recent because you just play through so many games and they just kind of like run together after a while
mm-hmm.
of just like cool events that are happening. And now we've done this, we're just going to balance this out. We're just going to push right across right here. Just blend all that together.
Now, one thing I see often coming up, and there's a few people in the chat kind of echoing it, is talking about Dark Ages and how it's such a great game. Have you ever had any thoughts about bringing that back in some form?
Well, technically, it's not dead. I mean, but here's the thing: like, I make game systems. I like every system I've made. Dark Age, I did the 2012 revamp for that system. Wrath of Kings made that. But you just have to balance out. In an ideal world, you obviously want to like everything you do. You want to be successful. You want to continue on. But the thing is, end of the day, this is still a business. This is still a a company. If something is not worth the time and energy and resources
Mm-hmm.
that it's taking up, you can't support it because everything can't be a fan endeavor. And
Right.
that's just one of those things. So you know, uh, do I like every system I've made? Yes. Uh, is it worth the time to continue going with? Well, that's the question you have to ask. You know, community and fans make things popular, but it still has to be, this is still a business. That's the thing that everyone has to remember. You can't just do it because of the passion. Passion will carry you a long way, but passion does not pay the bills and keep people employed. And our company has a number of people in it from all different departments, and they're doing this because it's their livelihood, and that goes from salespeople, customer support people, warehouse people. We just happen to be in a section of the business that is nice that we get to be creative and do something that we really
Right.
enjoy doing every day. Everyone should do a job they like, but not everyone is that fortunate. So now what we're gonna do here, Chase, is we've got some more white on our palette knife, and we're just gonna go ahead and make a little coastline right across here as we've made all these reflections. It's just very easy. We're just going to
Nice.
grab and just gently just pull down here just a little bit. Just, again, making a little glacial shore right there.
Any design decisions that you're most proud of? Can you recall any like aha moments that made something click?
It depends on the game system, but yes. So, like, with Song of Ice and Fire, the NCUs and that aspect of the game is we want to make that, unique and separate from that. Things being based on ranks, that was another important aspect. You take inspirations from things you've seen in your life, whether it's other game systems or experiences or just things that you think are really cool. It's like when we're working on Bloodborne. I had for years been wanting to make a diceless kind of dungeon crawl game, and then all of a sudden the Bloodborne IP comes down, which is a game with no luck elements that's all based on player skill and everything, and all of a sudden, like, hey, we've got this perfect opportunity here where, like, this is a cool mashup of this system that I want to make works perfectly with this game. So, that's just one of those, like, moments of, like, yes, this just clicks together so well.
Do you ever think that not only are you designing games, but you're also building communities? Because a lot of the games you make develop their own subset of passionate fans that are kind of building community itself.
So, I will say that one of the experiences that I remember a lot of, like, if you ask me, like, oh, hey, what's your convention experiences, like, and all those, so people ask that a lot, like, do you remember any of those? And I will say that the one that I remember the most, and listen, I will be very blunt here. I don't like kids. Okay, I'm not a kid person. All right. But that doesn't mean I'm gonna be like rude to them or like be, oh, get away from me, you little brat. I mean, unless they are like little brats. But I mean, if they're just being a kid, I'm not gonna ever hold that against them because that's not right to do. But there was one CMON Expo, and we had this one like father come up with his kid, and apparently the kid, like, one of his favorite things was like pirates, and he just loved Rum Bones, and they had signed up for one of our like play with the designer things, and that was like the kid's highlight and everything was being able to do that. And this is supposed to be like a big like 6-8 person event, and this was the first CMON Expo, so the attendance was kind of a little low. It was literally just the dad and his kid were the only ones that showed up, and so we weren't even going to have the event because of lack of attendance. But just seeing that, like, the kid there and everything was like, oh no, come on, we'll play a game, and just going and playing the game with that kid, and again, like, this is like he's 8 or 10 or somewhere along the lines in there, and he is just so excited. And then afterwards and everything, we give him some promos and everything, and he has a great blast and a fun time. And then dad's go like, oh, thanks, this was his birthday, and this is what he wanted to do. I'm like, really? On top of everything else too? It's like, it's the kid's birthday.
He's gonna remember that forever, and he'll be like, man.
Well, and that's the thing. He might not, but that's the thing. Like, that's an important thing. And frankly, this is going to get a little bit like, I don't know, transcendental, maybe a little even sappy here, but this is an important thing for me, is that we are crafting experiences for people. And this goes with the board games, the miniature games, anything we're doing. We are crafting experiences. And especially, like, even in the times that we're dealing with right now, this is some people's escape. This is all they have right now to get out of some kind of like, sorry, but like shitty situations, because that's kind of how the way the world is right now. And for some people, like, before even all this happened, they looked forward to the weekends because, like, hey, I might, my job is not the best, or I'm, doing what I can to like support things, or I might have issues going on, but this weekend I'm going to go and play some games, whether that's war games or board games or whatever. And for some people, this is their escape. This is what they do instead of like, not to get dark here or whatnot, but like instead of like drinking or like something else that might be self-destructive, this is what they're doing to, as their hobby. This is what they're choosing to do with their time. And the fact that we are creating an opportunity like that for people, that's important. Because, for some people, this is what they have, going and playing games with their friends, or even just playing them solo and everything. This is what they have. So it's important, like, what we're doing for people. Now, I'm not going to say, obviously, it's like, we're just as good as doctors and, all of those, because absolutely not. But
Right, because you guys are way more
yours,
people. I don't go to the doctors that often, but I play games all the time. So obviously, you guys you're way up there, right?
right? Exactly. Just we can quote that. I guess I'm just gonna quote that as Chase. From on the
Honorary. Oh yeah, is
no,
that's all it
Chase
takes?
from On the Table Gaming. Game designers are more important than doctors. I just that's something you said.
I feel like
I
that's
didn't.
gonna come back to haunt me or something. It'll be like,
Listen, I don't know what messages you want to send to your fans. I can't.
oh
I'm
no.
not in control of that. All
Here's
right.
maybe going in a more negative way here. Any expo where you had to present a game and things went south, so you had to improvise? I'm thinking back even to some other companies at the recent Gen Con virtual where they just had a lot of tech problems or things. Have you ever been in that position?
You see, the secret, Chase, is if you never plan anything, then nothing can go wrong.
You just show up and ad lib everything. You're like, well,
oh, it's not like I never rehearse any of this stuff. I mean, the whole thing is like I know what we're going to talk about, but otherwise it's going to be very free form and just free flowing. Because I think if you're trying to stringently stick to any type of script or whatnot, you're just giving yourself more chances to mess up. But if you just know the broad strokes, then that's going to be fine. Because here's the thing: it's like any real life thing. Plans are only plans until they hit the enemy, and then you have to be able to ad lib on the spot.
let's get some good questions to have them ad lib here. That's
while you're doing that, we're gonna get to everyone's favorite part here, and we're gonna paint some happy little trees. So we're gonna paint one just right back here.
See, they are happy trees now.
Well, he's fooling people. He lures people in thinking he's happy, and then he eats them.
A quick question here: your song chat, is that still going to be a thing?
I mean, I did one a little while ago. It's mainly just been a time thing, because I enjoy doing them, but it's also been very busy lately. And while I don't actually need a lot to do them, I am working on a very limited scope here about what I have.
Right.
I mean, that's not really a big excuse because honestly, when I do them a lot, it's really just my headset. And then, like I said, those things are completely unscripted and unrecorded. That is, and I don't edit. I don't even know how to edit. So those things are literally just me talking, and hopefully I don't mess up. And if I mess up, I might be able to fix it, but otherwise we just keep going.
Oh, here's a good curveball one for you then here. Well, one question that hopefully you haven't had to answer before. Totally unrelated here, but we'll try and catch you off guard. If you were to perform in the circus, what would you do?
I'd be the ringmaster.
Ah, he's ready to go. You had that one in the holster.
PT
Come on, guys.
Right there, center in the circus right there with the ringmaster hat. So man, yeah, that's I've seen the greatest. I've seen the Greatest Showman. I already know my role here.
All right.
I guess I could pose for a pretty cool bearded lady, but I'm gonna go with ringmaster.
From Rusty Thompson. Maybe think back to when you first started as a game designer. What did it feel like walking into a game store and seeing something you designed on the shelf for the first time?
I hope no one recognized me.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I gotta be honest. Like, I'm not a huge, like... The thing is, like, we make games.
But is there accomplishment, even if it's...
Like I said before, like, though, we make games. Like, this is what we do. This is not something I view as, like... oh my god or whatnot, and it still weirds me out when people are like, oh my god, I was nervous to come up and talk to you. I'm like, really? Why?
Well,
I think that's also because just because like the celebrity thing, like I've met celebrities before. I've almost gotten into a fight with Billy Joel one time, and it doesn't really register to me as anything. It's just like these are people that just more people know about. So that's just kind of how that works. We're going to do a really big tree, I think, over on this side. What do you think, Chase?
I think so. Here? Absolutely.
Good? Okay, we're going to do a big tree over here. We're going to call it the DuPont.
Oh, thanks.
Okay.
As
up here, he's going to go deep up into the sky, just in permanent legacy here of the, the DuPont name. Just all the way down here. He's going to take up right up here in the foreground.
People asking, so you you went through and you watched the shows, obviously, for A Song of Ice and Fire, I guess Game of Thrones, technically then. I guess the question is specifically, but what did you think of the Red Wedding scene in the show?
So, sadly or not sadly, I guess, I don't really know how you want to view this. It was pretty much all, like, I watched the show, like, years after it actually came out, because I had a roommate at the time that basically spent all of his time downstairs watching TV shows. And whenever I got home from work, he was on the couch watching TV. Whenever I got up, he was downstairs watching TV. Whenever I went to sleep, he was downstairs watching TV. And so anything he watched, I kind of just began to intrinsically hate because I just saw it all the time.
Mhm.
So, like, for example, he binge watched the entire series, 11 plus seasons of The X-Files. That has made me, to this day, never want to watch The X-Files. So at the time, I had read enough of the books to have like knew about the Red Wedding and everything, but I had not watched the TV show at that time, and that kind of turned me off to doing it. So I actually didn't go back and watch the show until the years later when it was time to like research the game. That was the first time I went back and watched the show. And I was like, this is cool. I wonder if we're going to get Lady Stoneheart, and then we didn't, and it was sad.
Oh, we have someone in the chat that is just kind of shocked that we're moving past the whole Billy Joel thing. Is that something you'd be interested in circling back and elaborating on?
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, I spent a fight with him one time. It's fine. It's his fault.
Okay.
So this was 1996, 5? I don't know, sometime in the past. Go back in the Wayback Machine. I was at my girlfriend at the time and myself were big Billy Joel fans. It's actually one of the reasons we kind of got together. And he was doing a concert in Atlanta, and so we went and saw him. It was a pretty neat little concert. Not a huge concert fan, I'll be honest, because like the music's never really as good, and those type of things. Except if it's like a rock thing. Like I've seen Gwar in concert, I would recommend that every time. But that's mainly because of a mosh pit. The Gwar concert, the first 5 minutes, I got hit in the eye with a heart. So that was cool. But anyway, so the Billy Joel concert was fairly uneventful. I don't actually even remember a lot about it. But then afterwards, we are exiting through like the front lobby and everything, and all of a sudden I just get shoved from behind as this guy's just running past. I'm just like, what the hell was that, asshole? And I turn to my girlfriend, and she's just like standing there, just like gobsmacked, like mouth hanging open. I'm like, what? And she goes like, do you see who that is? And I look to the side right there, and I see that it's Billy Joel, who, for whatever reason, is escaping out of the front of the arena, because apparently there were like people waiting for him in the back area, so he was escaping out the opposite side. But to do so, he's just darting through the crowd. And so I'm just like, okay, neat, because I don't care who you are. You don't shove people out of the way when you're moving. And so I find that very rude. So, I always said that, like I would have had an issue with him there if, he had stopped or something like that.
He got away this time.
Yeah, so if like I ever see him again, we'll have words about like, hey, do you remember in 1995 when you were in Atlanta and you were shoving your way through an audience?
Maybe he's in the chat right now. Who knows? He's been following you. He's just trying to find you and apologize. He's like, I feel so bad. And
you're right. He's really the Batman.
That's exactly right. Giant NCU.
Yeah, Giant NCU.
Celebrity encounters. Someone asking, how do you feel when someone asks for your autograph?
Weird.
Yeah.
Luckily, that has not happened a super large amount of times.
You guys know what to do.
Like, yeah, great.
That's gonna be the next thing when conventions start back up again. We'll be like, everyone get a copy of a signed copy of Michael Shinall's autograph. A signed copy of his autograph. What does that mean?
Excuse me 1 second here, Chase. Excuse me, Mr. Benzos. Can you please release more COVID? We need to stop convention season next year.
Has it been? How did you find that transition from regular conventions to sort of the digital conventions? Are there things that you miss? Things that you prefer about digital conventions?
So I am not the world's biggest like social butterfly, so conventions are nice to me, but I'm not one of those people that goes out and parties and everything at them. So I enjoy interacting with the fans. I enjoy doing that, but like the after hours when everything's shut down, it's just rest up for me. And so lots of conventions, I like the digital ones because they still give that full interaction, at least close enough to it, but they don't require, like once they're done, I can just go do whatever I was going to do. Sometimes don't even have to put pants on, it's cool.
Introvert hype. There we go. All the introverts in the chat were. Yeah, is it hard? I mean, I really appreciate you coming on here and talking with me. And I know also in the past we've talked on a podcast, and sometimes I'm asking questions that I'm sure you've been asked, hundreds of times, if not maybe thousands. At conventions, is what's that like? Is it do you feel like you're having a lot of the same conversations over and over and over again? I always feel a little bit nervous to approach and talk to people, especially game designers at conventions, because I feel like there's usually like a line of people And it's exciting for me, but obviously it's not the other way around.
Oh no, it's actually exciting for me is talking to people and getting opinions. I deeply enjoy that. It's just that, like again, I will say that it is tiring for me because, I I don't want to do that whole like wax poetic about like introvert and extrovert thing, but interacting with people, while I do enjoy it, it does sap me of energy. I'm not one of those people that gets energized by it, but I still enjoy doing it. But I do need my time to like go and just relax. So like after the floor hours are done in a convention, like for example, Eric, he's a social butterfly. He will chat for people for 72 hours straight, and that's what he will do. Me, when the floor closes, I'm going to go to my room for a couple hours, and then I'll come back down and wander around and do all that. But I'm not the type that can just go, oh, hey, we're done at this part of the convention. Oh, we've got a party to go to, and then I've got a dinner, and then I've got drinks with friends, and then I've got a late night snack, and then I've got the next party to go to.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be tough, though. I remember at PAX Unplugged, I saw Eric there, and I was like, oh, I want to get a chance to talk to Eric. He's over by the HeMan booth, and there's these guys in front of me, and they're like, man, they're really talking for a long time. Like, who are these guys? And then I started to pay attention, and I realized it was the guys from Shut Up and Sit Down. And I was like, oh, it makes sense why they're talking with him for so long. Let's see, any other questions, guys? We've got, you didn't carry your Michael Bolton card to every convention last year, so you didn't get it signed. Michael, would you sign a Michael Bolton card though, or is that an automatic disqualifier?
So funny enough, I actually, when I came up here, they sent me an entire stack of those things, like 200 or something, to sign for the conventions for this year.
Ah.
Oops.
Spoiler.
No, they were for the convention circuit.
Well, I guess there is no convention.
Which
next year, then we'll have some elements there. That'd be cool. Some signed cards. That's awesome. How's that? You just sitting there like take 200 times so you write your name. By the end, does it look the same?
That was literally just like, let's factory through this.
Oh gosh, that actually does not sound fun at all.
It was not. It was kind of cool to start with, and then you're like, I have 200 of these things. Well, crap.
So what do we got here going on the right? We got another set of trees here. This is looking amazing.
Another set of trees, which I doubt you're going to be able to see. But don't worry, that's going to come out because we're going to do some highlights on those in a bit. But I doubt you're going to be able to see them because they are pretty much all black right here. As they should be. The soil here is not good. It's tainted because of all the atrocities that have happened here over the years.
And Peter, he kind of already talked about what brings him to Canada for so long. But Michael, feel free to recap. But I bet you could guess, Peter.
Oh, well, actually, so the reason here is my girlfriend is in Vancouver. My girlfriend of 8 years, she was going to the art college up here. She is from Vancouver, but so are you like in an artist commune? What's going on? There's a lot of art going on here. Is she a painter? She is yes, she does digital, and she has a bunch of degrees. I don't even know how many, but she graduated with like another one this year. But anyway, so I was coming up here for graduation, and that's when the border closed, and I was like, well, crap, I might as well just stay here where she is, because I don't really have anything in Georgia. It's just myself and like my stuff. So I was like, well, let's just ride this out up here. And then 1 month turned into like, oh, the border's closed, and it stayed closed. So I had already planned to like move up here at some point in the future anyway. So now I'm just kind of here, I guess, testing the waters. But the thing is that right now, unfortunately, given the situation in the U.S., if I go back to the U.S., I'm not going to be able to get back into Canada because of the way the border is. So I can't leave here. I can legally go back to the U.S. just fine, but it's a matter of my girlfriend's here, her family is here. So if I leave, I can't get back. Gotcha. So that's why I'm staying. Because again, back in the U.S., I just have stuff there. There's not really anything there for me.
I know. So a lot of people right now, their jobs are affected by COVID in a variety of different ways. How does that change the way you do your job as far as designing?
So our design offices were mainly located in Brazil and Italy. And so I was already remote dealing with them. So this didn't really actually change that much, to be honest. Just kind of one of those things like, there's a bunch of those memes going around online where people are like, you have an introvert problem when, quarantine happens and nothing changes. Like,
yeah. Do you miss like a certain routine of like, your old job? Not your old job, but like the old way you would approach, like maybe going to the office or something like that.
Yes, I mean the thing is like, and this is something a lot of people have had to like learn to deal with and everything working from home is, you know, learning how to set your own schedule and set your own guidelines. Now I did a lot of that anyway, but it definitely be like doubly compounded, down when all of a sudden like you're now 100% in charge of your schedule every day, and also managing other people, on that same note. Okay, so what we're going to do here before we move on to the background trees is we're actually going to paint some just foreground bushes, just right in over here, I think. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. And we're just going to dab these into existence. But yeah, so being able to set your own schedule and also being able to like, work properly, that's an important thing. But it's also finding balances, because otherwise it's very easy to get into a habit of just working all the time. So that's why you have hobbies like this, or I guess training seagulls, or whatever.
There was a comment that I missed earlier, and I'm just seeing you paint these bushes, and it made me think of terrain. And they were talking about how they really love the terrain and the way the keywords work in A Song of Ice and Fire, the miniatures game. And they were seeing that there's a lot of fan-made terrain and people come up with, and yet when people go to play the game, a lot of times they only want to stick with like the official terrain rules. Has there ever been any thought about using that design space to make more terrain, or is the keyword system supposed to be there so that it sort of takes care of itself and people can just make their own?
Well, I mean, the whole reason the keyword system is the way it is, that's a holdover from Wrath of Kings. It's almost the identical same system, was because it allows you to just custom make whatever you want. And, that's the whole thing. Even the rulebook goes over that and talks about that these are guidelines. Like, you want to make a bog that is dangerous and, like, full of bees or something, by all means do that. But I think people have just, like...
That's very specific. I feel like you're like, bogs with bees.
Well, you have a forest with bees, too, Chase. There's no limits. It's your imagination.
Community, can we get some art going?
Bees and whatever you want, okay?
Can someone get some bogs with bees art going? We need a template. Take the template, put some bees on there. Let's make that a thing we can print out.
But that's supposed to be a system, and I get it. People like to default to just like, this is what is like the rulebook says, so I don't have to think about it, and that's fine. But it's limiting. I mean, we made the system so that people can experiment and make cool stuff, and I would like to see more of that, without like having to be the handhold thing about like, oh, do this.
You're getting some compliments on your work. I assume either that or it was compliments on the bees and bogs, but
I mean,
either way.
You can have forest of bees in there too. There's no limits to what you can put bees in. It's Westeros.
Sweet. The new keyword we'll have to add is bees. I guess it's just dangerous then.
That's dangerous. Like everything that is dangerous is just full of bees. Those stakes, those are just beehives.
The beehives in there, that's it. It's just...
This is a cool little trick right here we're going to show you, Chase, and this is kind of making the water reflections here as well, is that we have these bushes here in the foreground that don't really look like much, but we're actually just going to create some more water reflections to have a little stream going up this way, and that's very easily. You can only do this with oil paints. Acrylics is much harder, but you just grab right here, pick your point, say you want this, like right here, let's make a shoreline, so we're just going to grab and just pull down, and now we're just making reflections in the water. See?
Man.
Look how easy that is right there. Anyone can do this. And if anyone is even partly interested in this, I recommend going and watching a Bob Ross video and then picking up a little set of yourself to do this, because it is very relaxing and it keeps you calm, make you happy. And also, here's the thing. Bob Ross is severely dark. Okay, this is something that people don't really know, but he loves sneaking in these little things. It's like all of a sudden he'll just say something and he'll be like, wow, that was really dark and morbid, and he just breezes right through it. So this is actually a painting of his called Winter Moon that I'm doing. And he draws a little cabin over here, which I don't think I'm going to do. But he literally goes into, like, he just throws out, like, we're going to draw a little abandoned cabin here. Maybe one day the trapper that lived in there, he walked down to the ice to get some pelts, and he just slipped and fell in and drowned. And now his cabin's been abandoned right here. And so that's why it looks like this. And he just keeps going, and it's like, okay, we have a dead trapper somewhere in this picture. And it's just never acknowledged. It's like, okay, cool, neat.
But we're kind of okay with it because of it's insignificant. So
right,
trappers are.
It's oh, Jesus Christ.
I can't see the visible pain from that fun on your face. Too bad.
You can't hear my palette knife scraping against my palette here. Like, really?
It's chopping. Isaac. I see your comment there about whether they make official 3D terrain. They do actually have official 3D terrain that is in the Kickstarter.
And we have been looking into like potentially making more of those kits for like retail and something. That's just again a matter for production, something I really can't talk about on my own.
Gotcha.
Am I a fan of it? Yes. But I don't, that's another thing. It's like just because I'm the designer does not mean I have full control over everything that happens in the game. Like people are asking me questions about like delivery dates and like marketing decisions and sales decisions. And it's like, guys, I just make the game. I don't
You mean
personally
you
box
aren't?
this.
You're not just Simon. It's just you. Like, hi, I'm Michael Simon Shinall, and I just do everything. You're carrying like Santa dropping gifts off for people.
Yeah, I personally. Oh, it's funny with so Adam Lavelle, who is our vice president of sales in the U.S. Like just to show you some of the kind of weird stuff, he's been accused of sabotaging FedEx deliveries.
This is just fun to imagine.
I don't want to get it. I don't want to get into that too much, but like that's just some of those things that like you hear where like the guy was like, you specifically have gone and sabotaged. He didn't say that we sabotaged our delivery. It was that we contacted and sabotaged FedEx. Like that's the type of power we have, is that we can go and mess with FedEx.
Have you? Yeah. I mean, so I'm just kind of a small time hobbyist here. At the YouTube channel, it's fun, but we're small fish in the pond here. But I have some interesting interactions with people on occasion. I imagine for someone like you, especially going to a lot of conventions, you must bump into a wide range of people. And while it's kind of funny online sometimes to see like someone thinking that you might be able to like stop the mail. Have you ever had like both like really positive experiences with people? I think maybe that story about working doing the game with an 8-year-old maybe fit that. But then also maybe have there been ones that are like, oh, this is kind of uncomfortable or weird?
Oh yeah, we've definitely had those in the past and whatnot. Here's the thing. I will treat people like serviceable and I'm polite, but that only goes so far. Like you can say whatever you want to me. That's fine. I will listen to you. I will cut off conversations and I will say we're done here, because I'm not just going to sit there and take these things. But we have had situations in the past where we've had some people be overly belligerent to other staff members, and that if you want to see me ever get triggered and like go on full like defensive mode and everything, I have no tolerance for that in the slightest. Like you can have a conversation with me and you can be insulting, whatever. I will end that conversation, and I will, I'm not gonna mince words when it comes to like how I think you're acting. I will be very blunt about it. But that's me ending a conversation, and that's exiting that conversation. But if someone is belligerent toward like our volunteers or our staff members or anything like that, you're not going to get that nice treatment let off there. So fair warning there for anyone who wants to, and I'll be very blunt about this, be an asshat or something like that toward one of our staff members at a convention. That's going to be a problem.
It is interesting because, like, as I'm in that sort of awkward category, like you have some people that are kind of passionate about the things you do, right? They maybe start podcasts or make videos because they're fans. It's always interesting
how that run star podcasts. Okay, Chase.
No. What runs? They make what? Not star podcasts. What? They just enjoy making stuff, and because you have some cool stuff, I think it allows people to channel their passion into it. I could see how we might come off as somewhat.
Well, I mean, you're gonna have some people that are like, yes, they're overly passionate. I mean, let's be honest, guys. Like the stereotype of like, oh my god, nerds. Oh my god, like that exists for a reason. I have encountered that, but yeah, that's fine. Like people are excited. Let them be excited. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not a fan of this area over here, so I think we're gonna turn this into just a big glacial area here. Chase, what do you think?
So how would you do that then if you make it ice?
That's easy. We're just gonna. A little trick here, just like we were doing some mountains, we're going to take some white, I'm going to roll that out right here, and we're just going to start making some little bits right here. Basically make it a little like ice barge kind of area here, I think. So
as you're doing this, how do you, oh, nice.
More paint on there.
Yeah, you had talked about how you get IPs in the past. How do like things get divided up within the company? Like you making Bloodborne, it just seems like such a natural, awesome fit for you to be the one doing that.
I was not the original person that was going to be doing that. That a lot of this does come down to like, okay, do we have someone who is a fan of the IP? Yes, but that's not always just it, because it's not like, oh yeah, he's the fan, he gets it. It also has to do with timetables. I've had to turn down a bunch of projects that I would have loved doing because I don't have time. And that's actually the case of me falling into Bloodborne. Like, again, when we started that, I didn't play Bloodborne. I didn't care about Bloodborne. But I was the one that was available at the time to handle it, because the other people that would be interested in it were already handling too many projects. So, and here's the thing. If I'm ever, like, assigned to a project, or anyone is, and they really, really don't want to do it, that's a conversation to have, because we're not going to force anyone to do it. And you're not going to get, like, the full, like... You always want someone to at least like what they're doing. You never want someone to hate what they're doing. That's the worst thing. So, like, if someone were to me to go, like, hey, guess what? We got My Little Pony, the IP, and you're going to work on it. Like, no, I'm not.
I feel like you could do or otherwise it'd have some like dark, sadistic influence.
It's like, yeah, guys, do you really think this is a good idea? I mean, think this through.
Oh, he's just doing landscapes. I know people are saying wish he added a mammoth. Well, guys, who know? We saw the sculpts revealed, so maybe I'll put up full screen. You can take a screenshot of this in the end, and you could superimpose the mammoth sculpt that we've seen over it if you really need
Chase,
to.
Would you like me to say something on your podcast that's going to cause a bunch of controversy throughout the entire community and possibly cause a bunch of rioting and chaos?
When you say community, do you mean the Song of Ice and Fire community, or do you mean this is going to be some sort of like political or some other statement? Community at what length, I guess.
You know, Chase, that's what I like about you. You're very safe about that. And you know me just well enough to know that it could have gone either way.
I've learned. I'm learning. I've definitely learned here.
It's a clever girl.
Fool me once, shame on me. But what is this? So what are you talking about? What is this? That sounded like a little bit of a teaser there.
Sort of. So we showed things during the expo, and here's the thing: that presentation was made, it had been in advance, and frankly, there were some things on there that if I had gone back and actually like thought about like some things that we showed, I would have been like, oh, maybe we shouldn't show that for a couple reasons. Granted, some of those were specifically thrown in there to cause an extreme amount of chaos, because hell, I like chaos. Chaos is a ladder. But there is one thing that I do want to bring up, and so for anyone who is missing the podcast or didn't pay attention to anything, this is probably like the next 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever, are probably the most important segment that we're going to talk about, because it's going to cause some chaos and disruption. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully just in the song community, but it might spill over into the larger, vacuum of the world, I guess. But vacuum of the world. That's now I'm like phrase.
I'm both excited and nervous here.
So we showed the Raylor Lightbringers, and everyone is currently like going like, oh my god, they're amazing, oh my god, I love this, and Stannis doesn't suck. And well, I guess some people are saying that. I mean, they're wrong, because it's Stannis. Nobody likes Stannis. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. People who know better don't like Stannis. You're always going to have...
These just turned into PSAs against Stannis. That happened the last time, too.
Well, listen, people are fully right to be wrong. It doesn't mean they're any less wrong or that they can't have that opinion. It just also means they're wrong. And like liking Stannis Baratheon, okay, I'm not saying personally I think there's something wrong with you, but I mean, there probably is something wrong with you. I don't know. Oh, man, the amount of people...
And remember... game designers are above doctors, so he can make that qualified statement about people's health and if there's something wrong with them.
According to some people,
according to some people on the internet.
Yes. It's funny the amount of people that really want to I harp on Stannis because I get why people like him. He has such a fanatical fan base. That's really the better part of this. It's not like I really hate him. I don't hate anyone in the setting, weirdly enough. Sorry, Catelyn Stark. I hate Catelyn Stark. I'm sorry, I can't even say that with straight face. She is an abysmal, just me, why? She is the cause of most of the problems in the setting and just continuously wants to make the worst possible decision she can. And her only redeeming factor is getting killed and turned into a cool zombie.
Yes, that's true. Ooh, Lady Stoneheart, that would be cool.
Lady Stoneheart's cool. But anyway, I was dissing Stannis. There was some other point I had. Oh yes. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. I could do that for a long time. Where were we again? Right. So the Lightbringers.
Yeah.
This is consider this your big major spoiler here and everything. Is that Uh, I will say that the Raylor Lightbringers are very good in the current meta. I would recommend against investing too much energy into analyzing how units play in the current meta when it comes to unreleased units, because you never know the state of the game when those units are actually going to see release. For example, I would not take a unit that, like, it's taking some of the newer units now, and let's say we got our Wayback Machine and we shunted them all the way back to like the game a year ago or 2 years ago. Just because of little micro changes and things that have happened in the game, those units would not function one way or another. They would either be too strong, too weak. Things have changed. Uh,
Oh, interesting.
one of the things to consider in that is the Raylor Lightbringers are not released. The game state when they are released may not be the exact same one that you're dealing with now. So if you're literally taking, I don't even want to make a comparison because people will read too much into it, and I can say as many times as I want, please don't read too much into this because this is a comparison I'm making up just randomly. It's still going to be taken for what it is.
Absolutely.
This is the equivalent of taking like a model, like let's say I had a Model T, or even reverse that. Let's say I had a Thunderbird. If I shunt that back to the beginning of the 1900s and start slot racing against those things, no, it's not going to be fair.
Right.
Or, if I take, I guess, old Coca-Cola that had cocaine in it and I bring that forward into the present day, no, that's not going to be fair. Of course it's way better than current Coke.
Remember, guys, was that endorsement?
Those comparisons go both ways. So I'm just saying that, like, if a unit's not released and it's not available to play in the game as it currently is, I would strongly suggest against worrying about its power level in the current state of things, because you never know what things, how it's going to be when that thing's actually out. What might be different, what might be the same. Chase, I've been holding this off a bit. I'm just going to go and highlight these trees here. And I've got our mighty fan brush right here with a bunch of titanium white on here. And again, this entire painting's been of only 3 colors. It's been phthalo blue, titanium white, and then Van Dyke brown. But now we're just going to go back and highlight these trees to get them a little bit of a frosted top. So
I see people in the comments are like, oh, I understand, or I get it now.
You don't. I promise you.
Yeah, my takeaway is something about Thunderbirds and cocaine in upcoming release. You're just going to release a Model T is going to be like surprise. It's on a siege train. It's just a car, guys. It's like, what?
Well, I mean, to be honest, if you had a car in Westeros, that would be really cool until it ran out of gas.
That's true. What could be, pushed by dragons or something.
There's a really cool anime called Drifters. And it basically has to do with a bunch of historical figures from different periods of time being pulled into a fantasy world to just duke it out. And so, like, one of the guys is a World War II, like, fighter pilot. But the problem is, like, and he brings his fighter plane into the past, like, this Dungeons and Dragons style setting. The problem is that fighter jets and, like, planes, they require fuel. So, and it's like,
and jet fuel.
Yeah, well, it's like they have Billy the Kid, and I think it's Billy the Kid. It's been a while since I've seen this, but they have a Gatling gun. The problem is they only have so many bullets, so they really have to always pick and choose like when they're going to use it.
Yeah, and then they had a Gatling gun. It didn't.
Yeah, exactly. And then you got a giant metal cylinder. So good on you.
Man, I don't know. I'm not, guys. You speculating in the chat. I'm not gonna throw this up on the screen because I think it's just gonna confuse things even more. Because I don't think we really know.
Oh, go ahead. Actually, throw some of those up. We'll
see what,
I want to see what some of the speculation is.
Well, we've got.
I want to see the chaos I just unleashed.
We got the randomness confirmed. There's going to be a 1.7 errata coming soon. We got a.
Well, first off, I think the future of seeing a 1.7. Well, we had 1.6, which was preceded by 1.5, which was preceded by 1.4.
That's true.
I'm going to tap into my Miss Cleo here and think that maybe 1.7 might happen at some point in the future.
The comparison implies that a lot of old stuff will be updated.
I think that's reaching.
Oh. Something is coming in about a year and will change the way the game is played. That's what I get from the comments made by Michael after a couple presentations.
Huh. That's cool. I mean, so next year, we have a lot of cool stuff coming. Like, I'm excited for next year, but it's not one single thing that excites me. It's a lot of stuff. Like, you guys are just going to get hammered by, like, cool thing after cool thing after cool thing. That's just going to come out.
I'm still recovering. I can't believe just how cool the Not to harp on Free Folk, but there's so many cool things you've shown. I remember being so excited for the Fen and being like, oh my gosh, and the Chosen of Styre. It's just mind blowing at the time. And now it's like, then like we're gonna have mammoths in the future. Those trees. Let me zoom in here. Those look
I guess
phenomenal.
Yeah, mammoths. I guess those mammoths are so 2020 Chase.
Well, so someone had asked this question earlier, and I missed it, but it was they were just talking about small solo trays are super maneuverable, and up until now or up until soon, we haven't ever had large solo trays that were melee units. Or I mean, you could technically, I guess, but the siege weapons weren't really about that. Any like major differences in how you play with those? Like because the long trays moving into melee are so unusual. Does that let me see what they're trying to say. Any difference of things that we need to watch out for when using them in melee?
I mean, maneuverability is definitely going to be a thing, and you're going to see a lot of that when it comes to the mammoths.
Amazing. Any other questions, guys, here? I know he's getting towards the end of his painting here. It looks gorgeous, though. Oh, he's going for the detail. Zooming in.
Yeah, we are getting nearly done here. This is just me being kind of lazy on the front here. This should technically have a much kind of more defined area, but, we're just doing this here. I don't want to keep you guys here too terribly long.
And then you're going to, at the end, are you going to flip it over upside down, and it's going to be like a Free Folk character or something, and I'll be like, oh my gosh.
Oh, there's already like something really neat hidden in here that I don't think a lot of people have picked up on yet, so it can overanalyze that as much as they want.
You do realize when you say something like that, it's going to be... Oh, now you guys are asking trick questions. That's not going to be... We're not going to fall for that. What's your favorite unreleased unit to play with? He's not going to spoil any stuff there. What is that? Oh, he's saying, is that Hardhome he's painting? I don't know.
My favorite unreleased unit to play with.
Uh-oh. We planted the seed. Peter's still trying to find the trapper.
I have to say probably House Harlow Reapers or Ironborn Reavers.
Is it just that pillage mechanic is just so cool?
Yes, but also I'm just a fan of the Iron Islands and that playstyle. So here's the thing, like, Baratheons. I'm just gonna touch up that little bit there a bit. Baratheons, like I like to joke about not liking Stannis, but it's not like that impacts any like gameplay decisions. It's not like he's made worse or better, or Renly's made worse or better because I personally don't like someone. Otherwise Catelyn would not be she would just be like, why would I ever take this? And unfortunately, that's not the case. But like, for example. But like Fabio was our lead developer. Sorry, he is our lead developer. Like,
Fabio, if you're watching this, surprise.
Spoilers. Spoilers. He's our lead developer. He is a big fan of Baratheons, so he got a lot of the design wheel there for the Baratheons, like the loyalty mechanics and splitting that up, and it was a really good job there. The Greyjoys, meanwhile, are I took the wheel on those. Now it's a cumulative. It's a community effort, whenever we're doing factions, and like one person does that or anything, and that's it. But there's definitely one person steering each faction. And so, you want to have someone who really enjoys the faction and like the characters to be the person that spearheads that, because otherwise you'll have a faction full of Shira rolls. But so like Fabio loves Baratheons. He likes the playstyle that developed of those, and that's a playstyle that we designed. This is before Fabio was in the company. We designed out the first initial 9 factions. And again, I can say this as many times as we want, that 9 is not a hard cap, for the love of God. There's no limit to what we can do.
It doesn't matter that you said that. Here we go.
Like, yes, you're right. We started with 9. That does not mean there are only ever going to be 9. It just means we started with 9. But, anyway. So like the Greyjoys were one of the ones that like their play style I really like, the characters I really like. So I was basically the lead one on that, because I just love that faction. I love the aesthetics. I love the gameplay for it so much. Whereas like with the Baratheons, I don't really care for like the whole like attrition grindy style of play. I respect it as a gameplay method, but it's just not for me. So you much want to have someone who understands that type of gameplay and what makes it fun. That's the type of person you want to have doing that. Like Lannisters, for example, are another one of my favorite factions. I like them a lot because of the control and manipulation aspects of it.
Yeah.
So, it's fun for me to design those things. Chase, I think we're kind of wrapping up here on this painting. I don't know what else to add. This is not the best work here because it's for a while, but I don't want to keep overdoing it.
Is it possible to tilt it? We can see it pretty well, but if we could tilt it forward towards the screen so we can see the final piece in all its glory, hopefully without
like this, or
knocking it up.
right
Yeah,
direction?
that looks perfect. That's amazing. Look at that.
So I have no problem here answering a couple more questions. And actually, if you want to get into some like what you might consider risque or even spoilerish type of questions, let's go ahead and ask some of those. Worst I can say is I'm not going to answer them.
Oh,
but
geez.
I'm feeling a little generous and a little nice right now. So, let's do that while I guess I clean up here.
What do you guys got? Spoiler questions there. Now
and then the very end here, I just throw acetone over the whole thing and just set it on fire. It's like, and this is how much I care.
No. Were there so stuff that was maybe not revealed at CMON Asia due to time? Is that going to be revealed at a future event?
Oh, so being honest, there we showed everything that we were going to show. Like we.
Okay. So you were just trolling us. I see.
Oh no, there was a real possibility that if we didn't make it through it, we couldn't show it, but we made it through everything.
Oh, we got Heather Carlson. I'm not sure I understand your post there. If you want to clarify that one. I've been getting tons of messages. Would Martells be the next faction released?
So that's kind of one of those questions there, isn't it? Like we show off something new and immediately it's like, okay, well that's cool, but what's next? And, I understand that, guys. Like it's something you knew, you're chasing that high, but we have a whole faction that's not even out yet. And you guys haven't even seen but the tip of the iceberg about that faction. And it's so cool. And even not just talking about that, but just the stuff for the existing factions that you didn't even know that you wanted that you're going to get. And that's not even the stuff that excites me. Okay, I'm excited about Greyjoys. I'm excited about the stuff for the existing factions. But that's not the stuff that's happening next year that really, really excites me. Because that is, end of the day, it's more of the same stuff for the game that we like. But there's going to be some really, really cool stuff happening next year that, again, I can't even talk about. That's how exciting it is.
What?
And I know that's super.
So you said this last time. So this is like a theme you've been saying. I'm trying to remember the exact words you were saying. Like,
listen, Chase. Here's my point. You guys are asking about like, oh, it's going to be a new faction, and that's really exciting, and it is. But in the grand scheme of things, a new faction, sure, you've seen that happen several times. The stuff you're going to see is going to blow your mind. And I also want to give a big clarification right there because that immediately is going to lead people to going like, oh my God, they're going to release a 15mm war game or something. Like, we're not going to do that. So first off, dashing any hopes for that.
Cross one off there. All you 15mm war gamers out there who are like, my time has come. Dash.
Yeah, where people are like assuming that like that because I'm talking about like something exciting, that I'm talking about something earth-shattering. It's not earth-shattering. It's just exciting. Like, I don't know. Some people might like it. Some people might not. Well, no, I'm not going to say some people won't like it. I'm going to say it's that people might not view it as exciting as I am. They're wrong. But, that's fine. But I'm saying is like, you guys are, if you're going to focus on just like, oh, what's the new faction? Okay, guys, it's not a surprise. There's new factions coming. I'm not going to say in what order or what's coming out. But yes, there's new factions, but that's not like a Sherlock Holmes deduction right there.
Right. So I'll be like, we decided we don't want to do any more with the IP. We're gonna just do these ones.
Well, it's like celebrities, and what did they know? Do they know things? We did one season. Why do we need to do another one? We already got our answer.
Whoops. Heather Carlson, super excited about attachments like the Thorn Guard, the High Guard and Captain. A lot of those Tyrell attachments. Let's see. Will we see more Starks besides attachments? I don't think you've ever hinted at, or maybe I'm wrong here, but no factions are like done.
Well,
right?
We've actually said the exact opposite, that no factions are not done. Because for some reason, again, people think that like, oh, well, Starks and Lannisters and Night's Watch and Freefolk, they're done because, their SKUs went to 10. Like, I'm not sure how you came to that conclusion because that's news to me.
It goes to 11?
You're right, Chase. It goes to 11, and that's actually where it stops. Every faction's getting one more box, and then we're calling it done.
Some of these
even
ideas.
though even though the attachment boxes are all SKU number 15 for their respective factions. But I mean, we just decided we didn't want to do 11, 12, 13, 14. We just wanted to go to 15 and call it done, right?
People are saying a fifth base size or a rules for drugs and alcohol, like in the books, or a change in range distances. I don't know, guys. That
So
might be
actually, I will mention that. That's one of the things that, like, I think over the last like nearly 3 years that the game has been out, that I constantly like, and this is always from new players. They go like, "Well, I don't like how range works in this game because it's too short." I'm like, that's coming from a comparison of other game systems,
right.
and dealing with the distances there, and that's
If you want something with unlimited range, we do have a faction for you.
It's true. You do have an option.
You throw rocks. Like we're throwing rocks at you right now with it.
Yep. And remember, there's no rules that say you have to target things on your table.
Uh-oh. Oh, no. You guys heard it right here, guys. Next tournament, start helping your friends on the other tables. Team tournament?
I don't know why I didn't see that too much, because I figured that's how team events were going to go. It's like, I'm going to use this stone thrower to start shooting stuff on the first table against the guy I don't like.
Yeah. I might die, but the guys on the table 2 tables over, they're going down. My buddy's going to survive.
This is my 2 stone thrower list, and I'm in last place this tournament, but I'm going to make sure that guy in first place doesn't win.
This might be, I know there are certain questions that you can ask and you can answer. But something that I always thought was really interesting is, and I never got to attend a convention that you were at, but I do remember there being a posting on, maybe it was Gen Con a few years ago, where there was an event where it was a team table where it was several players, I think, would be playing possibly against you. I don't know if that was actually a thing or not, or maybe that was like a rumor.
That was a Adepticon 2 years ago, and that basically has to do with a lot of our marketing guys come up with weird and kooky little events, and then I find out about it. I'm like, wait, I've got to do what now?
Is that something that might happen again in the future when conventions return to normal?
Well, so here's the thing. I actually like doing events like that because they allow me to be kind of crazy when it comes to doing gameplay related stuff. It allows me to do fan interactions and things, and it's just in general a fun little event to do. So I used to do those with Dark Age. I did them with some Wrath of Kings events, and again I've done them with Song, where it was this. That was the Siege of King's Landing, where it was everyone versus me, and so they all had armies that they got assigned out, and that's what they played. Those type of little things, like those conventions for me are about, again, just like getting into our gameplay talk, conventions are about crafting experiences, because you're going to a convention. This needs to be like a mini vacation for you. This is that type of cool thing. So if you're not doing something, if you're going to a convention and you're playing the same game that you could play at any local game store, why did you go to that convention? I mean, I get it, it's a bigger scale, but to me, if we're going to have a convention, make it something that you can only get there. And so those type of events where they're personally playing against me, or doing a special scenario, or we've got a big King's Landing terrain piece made up or something like that, those type of experiences that you can't get anywhere else, that to me is the essence of a convention. And so we go out of our way to try to facilitate those as much as we can when it comes to our our major events.
Man, that's so cool. I'm now just hearing you say that kind of makes me a little sad, or I'm like, oh, we can't have conventions right now, but hopefully in the future we'll get to see something like that.
We'll tell stories of the long ago, back in the before times when people could actually go out in public.
I mean, this is the long night.
This is that period of time that you'll tell your kids and your grandkids about, and they won't believe you, and they'll tell you it's okay, Grandpa, go take your pills.
Yeah, it's like, I had to stay inside and do live streams with Michael Shinall while he painted.
Back in my day, the internet came through a phone, and it made a noise like a dying robot. It's like, all right, Grandpa, go take your pills.
Well, and I think at this point, with the painting finished, should we wrap it up?
Chase, I'll give you 2 more questions. So
2 more questions, guys. Lot of excitement about Greyjoys. I'm seeing people talking about maybe future water terrain. If you guys just joined the stream, Michael did talk earlier about how you can use those keywords to make your own terrain. So you could feasibly make rules for water terrain. Maybe it's dangerous because it has bees. That's an earlier throwback. If you're like, why is he saying this?
Because bees are dangerous. Actually, technically bees are fine. It's wasps that you need to watch out for, very specifically. That was actually another little hobby project I had, was raising wasps. Unfortunately, those things are a little tricky, and they also really do not survive airmail very well. Learned that out from a various couple hard ways.
There had been some comments earlier about that I didn't put up on the screen.
Oh,
Yes.
that was from me attempting to mail wasps and finding out that when you send a big box of live wasps, all that happens is they receive a big box of dead wasps.
Oh. Questions about epic game size.
Literally the thing that I just said don't expect to have happen. Or are we
Yeah.
talking about like just large scale games? I mean,
I think it means
I've
large
had some of my
scale.
okay. I have had some of my local players, like some of our playtesters, that he loves taking every game system he plays and he makes it as big as he possibly can. He's taken some of our skirmish games and made them 4 or 5 times as big as they should. He's played 200-point song games, and it's just he's got this big custom like Westeros like scale table, but he has played like a 200-point song game of Night's Watch versus Free Folk, and yeah, like he gets crazy into it. We'll see if he can't. Actually, I might be able to talk to him, see if he can't get like maybe some picture battle reports or something.
People are asking about like any spicy lists you've been running, but maybe even thinking about, are there any sorts of lists you'd like to see the community try and run? Do you have like maybe a challenge you could be like, hey guys, try, or just like try this out, try running a list with X, Y, or Z?
No, I mean I've seen a lot of things that people like running, so I mean there's nothing really that stands out to me like, oh, you guys should try this.
I miss the old days of you and the Bastard Girls back when everyone was like, oh, Bastard Girls are horrible, and you're like, what?
Okay, listen, like Bastards Girls, they got vicious. I was happy to do that. I was happy with them beforehand.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. Let's see here. What list do I like running here? You're on Greyjoy, 1 House Harlow Reapers, 2 Ironborn Reavers, 1 Ironborn Trappers. Actually, 2 Ironborn Trappers. No, it's just 1. You can splash in Iron Makers to taste there if you want. Roderick Harlow as as 1 NCU. Balon Greyjoy as your second one, and your attachments would be 1 Warsworn, 2 Ironborn Reaver Captains.
I should be writing this down.
I'm a fan of Euron Crow's Eye in a unit of Reavers, and then I don't know how many points I would have left after that. Probably only a couple, or I'm running out of attachment slots. Yeah, something like that.
We're gonna have to deconstruct that, guys. And then last one, I know this one gets asked a lot. So there's lots of times when things get spoiled or teased. People are often asking about the Night's Watch Hero Box 2, and of course, I'm always excited to hear about the Free Folks Hero Box. When things get teased, is it ever in a specific order of release? Like if something gets, hinted at, does that guarantee that it's coming up next? Or is it more just like, hey guys, it's out there?
Right, so all spoilers and teases are controlled by us, and there's only been one incident in the past period ever in the game's history where things were released when they shouldn't have, and that was actually back when it was the some early Targaryen and Night's Watch models got thrown up on a Australian distribution site.
Oh yeah.
And that was literally those are assets that were not supposed to be released to the public, that were released to the public, and then this site put them up for pre-sale. Like none of the information was correct, none of it. Like the images,
the art was wrong, I think, right? When we finally saw it.
The cards that they had shown up were taken from like a playtest folder that had been like out of usage for like a year at that point. The model pictures were old pictures of old resins that had been changed since then. The information about like the contents and everything was incorrect. It was all wrong, like all of it. It was someone had gotten a hold of resources that they shouldn't have, that were super outdated, but then someone else had cobbled them together and put them up as this pre-order thing, and that information got out on the internet. And once something's out there, it doesn't matter how much you tell people that hey, don't listen to this, or that's not real. People are not going to pay that much attention to it, and they're going to go, it's real. And that still persists to this day. That, people are like, oh, well, why has Night's Watch Hero Box 2 been delayed by like a year and a half? I'm like, it can't be delayed if it was never announced.
Right.
Makes sense. Like it's never been on any release schedule officially. It's never been like, no one has ever said like this is coming out. No one has ever, or this is coming out X date.
The problem is you numbered them, right? If it didn't have the 2, because everyone's like, well, we have a Night's Box Hero 1, there must be a 2 coming.
Well, sure. I mean, that's no hidden thing. We've shown those models at conventions.
That's
but
true.
It's a difference between us saying that like these things are coming, or them going through an official like Asmodee release form,
Oh,
which those
right.
things are usually done 3 to 6 months in advance, and some random website stating that, oh, we're going to have these things for pre-order here and they'll be shipped out maybe in a few months. That's them taking pre-orders and making money. That's all that is. If you don't hear it from us or you don't hear it from Asmodee, it's not official. So I'm sorry, like I don't care what website or if your local
Right.
store says, oh, I heard a rumor that they're coming out in 3 months. If it's not from an official source, it doesn't exist. The problem is when people start taking that as an official date, and then when that date comes and goes, they will get mad at us because it wasn't real. It's like, we never said it was, man. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
So I think that's actually a really great maybe segue here out. If most of you, I think, who are fans of A Song of Ice and Fire, the miniatures game, we're on YouTube and on Facebook right now. I see a lot of the Facebook viewers. I'm assuming, guys, that if you're a fan of On the Table Gaming and you've liked our Facebook page, you're probably already in the A Song of Ice and Fire unofficial fan group. And Michael Shinall, Fabio.
I'm sorry. Is that, I'm just not to cut you off there. Are we done talking about the little ghost that went up a few hours ago?
The goat. Oh
yeah.
Go for it. Yeah.
I saw that and I went like, damn, that looks really good. It's not real, but it looks really good. I'm actually very impressed. Because the thing is, like, I actually expected to see a lot of like kind of fan made stuff like that come out, because like I'm not going to talk about other game systems, but like Star Wars Legion, they have a huge amount of fan made content.
Yeah.
And it's not that hard to actually do. I mean, you just need basic Photoshop skills to actually make things. But I will say, like, damn, that looked really good. It was like, it reminds me a lot of that. Who's the kid that plays Spider-Man, Chase?
Well, which one? Tobey Maguire, who does his little dances?
No.
Spider-Man 3? You mean the greatest Spider-Man of all time? Is that?
I'm not
is that
denying
a
that. But
which
the new one, the young one.
Oh man. Oh yeah, I'm blanking on it too now. I can use the power of the internet though.
Yeah, I hate that.
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland, yeah, because I love him as an actor. But he, there's this one.
Oh man, the internet exploded. Everyone's saying Tom Holland.
There's that joke that there was this news site that had put this bait headline up of like Tom Holland spoils the end of Avengers Endgame, and there's an interview then of Tom Holland going like, I read that headline and I went like, oh crap, did I do that? And I just love that he's just like, oh crap, maybe I actually did spoil this. And that's kind of how I saw when I saw that ghost. I was like, oh holy crap, did we make this? I'm like, no wait, we didn't make that. That's a really good fake though.
So we've entered into that era, the era of deepfakes, where there are also sites that you can run images through to find out what font is used, and people are now making cards that look realistically like the card.
I mean, that's not hard to.
Yeah,
that's not hard to find. I mean, like again, yeah, you've got tons of sites that can do that and everything in reverse find that. I mean, I've done it before. So
if you want to get the official stuff, you've got to look for it coming. Usually it's being dropped in the official A Song of Ice and Fire Facebook group. And if you're not in there, please join that community.
It's actually the unofficial one, Chase. We just
the unofficial one. Yeah. And they've got a bunch of great mods on there. And that's where you want to go to get that content. And, look to see Michael or Fabio dropping those cards in there. So if you're watching,
I just really want to like cite that. Sorry to cut off again, Chase. The whole like, my uncle works at Nintendo. That's how I always feel about those type of things.
Yeah,
it's like.
But so make sure you're part of those communities, guys, because that's how this community stays in touch and how we grow. And thanks to Michael Shinall and Fabio and the folks at CMON for interacting with the community in such a way. In fact, if you had told me 3 years ago, or was it more now in the Kickstarter? I don't even know, that I would be able to have a chat with Michael Shinall, a bunch of people in the chat, and you'd be painting and answering our questions about life, missing trappers in the wilderness, and A Song of Ice and Fire, the miniatures game. It would have blown my mind. So thank you so much for doing this.
Well, Chase, it's always good to be on here and talk to you. And by the way, the title of this one is going to be The Lost Souls of DuPont Lake.
Oh, great. Thanks.
So there you go, Chase.
That's amazing. And, with that note, guys, we're gonna wrap things up. And of course, we can't end this any other way, but I hope you guys are staying safe. And in the meantime, I hope you get your miniatures on the table.